You feel like the bye week came at the right time, not just for your injury, but also for the team as a whole to kind of refresh and reboot?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the bye, especially at this point in my career. Whenever it wants to show up, I'm ready for it. If you want to have two of them, I'm cool with that too. But yeah, for me, it definitely was the right time.
That was Matthew Stafford, who said he is very cool with 2 bye weeks if everybody else is down. I think he's not getting that luxury anytime soon here, fellas.
No, I mean, he's got it's you or Carson Wentz, dude. Yeah, get out there.
Yes.
Yeah. They got a real backup quarterback now.
Your
man, Carson Wentz.
You know who will be very happy to see him? That is the man that tops the love list for pass catchers in Cooper Kupp against those Seahawks here. Matthew Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 6 going into this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's, I think the struggles prior to were because of injuries and because of, inconsistent, I'm being kind here, quarterback play. But every game that Cooper Kupp has played this season, he's had at least a 25% target share. 2 of the 3 full games he's played with Matthew Stafford, he's had at least 19 fantasy points. We talked about Seattle and their secondary and how that's a place you can tackle, you can attack, especially attack in the slot. They allow the second most receptions per game to opposing slot players as well. And in fact, teams facing the Seahawks, to your point about them being a pass funnel defense, shout out Denny Carter, teams playing the Seahawks this year averaging over 38 pass attempts per game. That is 5th most in the NFL. So, yeah, my little Cooper Kupp, top 6 play this week. He makes the love list, Jay.
Yeah, and it's just each week it's going to be probably a little bit of an awkward thing with who's getting more between him and Puka Nacua, but at the end of the day, for our purposes, it just doesn't matter because you're going to be starting both of those guys every week that Stafford is healthy.
Our next one here, Jay, Brandon Aiyuk comes in as wide receiver 11 for Matthew. He's got a Bucs secondary that's been in a bit of a slump over the last 4 games, and Aiyuk, obviously a very capable deep threat.
Yeah, think about what the Bucs gave up to C.J. Stroud a couple of weeks ago. You're giving up 39 points to Stroud, and now all of a sudden the resurgent Brock Purdy and the Niners, they get that matchup. Again, another pass funnel defense in Tampa Bay. Aiyuk is clearly the guy for Purdy, and he's just a locked-in elite wide receiver option at all times. I think it was good as well that we saw Brock Purdy. I mean, that's probably the best game he's played against the Jags last week, so he seems to be completely right after the concussions, after 3 weeks of uneven play, and Aiyuk is a major beneficiary.
It just feels like there's some sort of weird connection between Purdy and Aiyuk that doesn't exist with some of the other players. And, Purdy's been very good, as you've talked about, Jay, for many, many weeks here. But just to give some numbers to what you're talking about in terms of Tampa Bay and the matchup. Okay, 5th most fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. That's the Buccaneers. They're also allowed for the 3rd most touchdown passes allowed on deep passes. Why does it matter? Because almost 50% of Aiyuk's targets this year, 47 to be exact, have come on deep passes. Literally, almost half his passes are on deep throws. On his targets are on deep throws, and so you've got a Buccaneers defense that top 3 in the NFL in terms of most touchdown passes allowed to opposing wide receivers on deep passes here. Bingo, bango, ipso facto. They're going to throw long to Brandon Aiyuk. He'll catch it for a touchdoan, and you'll say, "Oh, thank you, Barry. Yeah. That was a good." Okay. And I'll be like, "Oh, Luigi, yeah, thank you for watching the show. I appreciate you."
Oh, man.
Okay. I was going to make another point. I'm not sure I can after that. No, I'll do it anyway.
Go for it.
So I also think it was instructive that that touchdown pass that Purdy threw to Aiyuk against the Jags, he really shouldn't have thrown that ball. Really should not have put that up, but he did, because I think there was just a trust level between him and Aiyuk that he's just going to do the Taylor Heineke effort of throwing it up. Terry's down there somewhere.
Yep.
Same thing with Brandon and Brock.
Welcome back to the love list. DeVonta Smith against the Chiefs comes in as a top 20 wide receiver. And with DeVonta Smith here, Barry, you hate seeing Dallas Goedert down, but DeVonta Smith's production and targets should go up with him down.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it for the player, but if you have DeVonta Smith on your roster and you don't have Dallas Goedert, you're okay with it. Hey, Dallas, you guys are going to the playoffs. Rest easy. Take it easy. Maybe come back for a little bit in Week 18. But in the 5 games Dallas Goedert missed last season, he had a 27% target share. He averaged 84 yards and over 15 fantasy points per game in those games. It's worth noting that the Chiefs have allowed a touchdown to an opposing wide receiver in 7 of 9 games. Now, it's probably going to be A.J. Brown, let's be clear. But the fact of the matter is that more target in a game in which we think Philadelphia is going to have to score to keep up with the Chiefs, I should say, I think DeVonta Smith gets a nice uptick in target share when they've been out. When Goddard has been out, there's no one else that steps up. They're not like, oh, here's this backup tight end, or here's the third wide receiver. Here's this. There's no Tyler Boyd, if you will,
Josh
of
Palmer,
the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Or Josh Palmer. There's no third guy that seems to step up when Goddard has been out. It's literally just, it's A.J. Brown, it's DeVonta Smith, and otherwise they're just going to run it. It'll be Hurts and Swift. And so Smith comes inside my top 20.
Yeah,
I think that was wide receiver 18.
I think that was a cathartic touchdown as well against the Cowboys, against Deron Bland. I mean, Bland had decent enough coverage on the play, just perfect throw, perfect catch. And I think that just that after, particularly the Jets game where he's dropping all those passes, seemed like he was in his own head against the Dolphins as well. I think to be able to get right, and as you mentioned, the fact that there's no Dallas Goedert, it's just going to be Smith, Brown in a game that they're going to have to throw a ton.
Our next one here, Trey McBride on a real breakout since Zach Ertz went down for this team. And for Matthew this week, Jay, McBride comes in as tight end 5. He is a true factor at a position in fantasy that you could have got this guy off the waiver wire after the Ertz injury.
Yeah, let's throw out the Clayton Tune game in Cleveland because that was just such a mess. If you take that out, his past 2 games, 23 targets, 18 receptions, over 200 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, with Kyler Murray back, I'm not sure there's that many tight ends you'd want the rest of the season over Trey McBride outside of the elite of the elite.
Tight ends that have seen at least 7 targets against the Houston Texans, who the Cardinals play this week, are averaging over 14 fantasy points per game. Well, we expect Trey McBride to get a ton of targets in this game. Since Zach Ertz went down, he has a 32% target share. 32%.
Yeah.
That's a lot, Connor.
That's a lot. I know
I'm
math.
just telling you.
I know we're still working on math.
No, I'm
but
just that. Sometimes I just do this math in my head. I'm just telling you, 32% is a lot. Since Zach Ertz went down, he's the 3rd best tight end in fantasy.
So Hawkinson, Kelsey, Andrews, you'd rather have those 3 guys. You'd probably rather have Laporta. I mean, there's not many guys that before Trey McBride is really
Dalton
in that
Kincaid's
discussion.
in that conversation as well, but with Goddard hurt and Darren Waller hurt, and I mean, like it's.
I'd rather have Trey McBride than George Kittle the rest of the way.
I think
the
that's
consistency,
fair.
right?
Yeah.
The consistency. I think
Kittle
that's
just
fair,
has these
especially
games where he's 3 for 35.
because they have so many weapons and they use Kittle to block. I mean, with Kyler Murray back, this is now a competent offense, and it's a competent offense that's going to have to throw because the Cardinals' defense is so bad.
Some others receiving votes here. Tank Dell coming in as wide receiver 22 against those Cardinals. Rashee Rice against the Eagles, wide receiver 35. Jaden Reed comes in as wide receiver 45, but does make the love list here. Cole Kmet, a top 12 play at tight end, and then Tyler Conklin as tight end 15 because he's had a good back-to-back games here, Matthew.
Yeah, and he's not C.J. Uzomah. I mean, let's be honest.
Not.
Like when Tyler Conklin's out on the field, you're like, we've got a shot at not having a touchdown called back due to penalty with Tyler Conklin.
He might even catch it.
He might even catch it. He's had 6 for 65 in back-to-back games now. By the way, Cole Kmet, 2nd highest red zone target share among tight ends this season. There does seem to be a connection there as well. We expect the offense to be better. We expect Justin Fields back for Chicago as well. Look, Tank Dell's a thing. We keep talking about this. We know this. I know Noah Brown overshadowed him, but you heard us earlier in the show. Noah Brown, a little bit banged up. Who knows? He's had 4 games this year where he's had at least 7 targets. He's had at least 18 points in all 4 of those games. We expect the Texans-Cardinals game, I think, has sneaky shootout potential.
Sure.
Stroud versus Murray. And so I like Tank Dell as a top 25 play. I'm at wide receiver 22. No team in the NFL allows a higher catch rate to wide receivers than Arizona.
Total's 48.5 in that game. So
I mean, just telling you. Exactly. Rashee Rice, again, Eagles, we talked about that secondary and the struggles there. Rice tied for the team lead in red zone targets. Eagles tied for the most touchdowns allowed to opposing wide receivers. So we think there's a decent chance Rice gets into the end zone. And then Jaden Reed quietly has at least 80 yards in 2 of the past 3. Chargers do allow the highest catch rate and the 3rd most yards per game to the slot, which is Reed, obviously, where he lines up for Jordan Love. I don't love Jordan Love, but I do think to the extent you're picking somebody out of this Packers passing offense, I do think Jaden Reed is, a viable desperation wide receiver 4.
Yeah, quietly Jordan Love as well has been playing a little bit better the past couple of weeks. Hasn't necessarily
He's made
reflected
some
on
throws.
Yeah, he looks a little bit better. And also, this Chargers defense is an absolute disaster. They had no chance against Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I understand the Lions have a very good offense and a good offensive line, but it's not like he's going up against Patrick Mahomes in that spot.
No.
Or the Chargers aren't going up against Patrick Mahomes in that spot. So, and when they went up against Patrick Mahomes, they got absolutely shredded as well.
Absolutely shredded.
I think that the Packers should be able to move the ball against that defense.
All right, moving over here to the hate list, which is led by Deontay Johnson here, Jay. He's got the Browns. We've talked about or joked about on the show the struggles of Kenny Pickett as well, and I know Deontay Johnson's even a little banged up right now as well.
Yeah, just a tough matchup against the Cleveland defense. We saw what Kenny Pickett did, or rather didn't do, against them in week 2 outside of that one bomb touchdown to George Pickens. So it's just a brutal matchup. And the Browns, I think the perception of their defense is a little bit skewed because they did give up 31 to Baltimore, but it was a pick 6 from Kyle Hamilton and they muffed the punt at the 12. So they didn't really give up much to Baltimore at all. They shut down Lamar Jackson. If you can shut down Lamar Jackson, you can shut down Kenny Pickett.
That's factually correct.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. You know, if you can shut down Connor Rogers, you can shut down Kenny Pickett. I'm very bitter about Diontae Johnson. Again, he's the reason I'm out of 2 different guillotine leagues. Him and Lamar Jackson. Travis Etienne didn't help any either. But I really blame. I put the majority of the blame on Diontae Johnson last week.
I was going to say Denny Carter.
And Denny Carter. Well, because Denny Carter, freaking Denny Carter, could not stop shutting up about Diontae Johnson. Just kept carping for him, and I was just like, okay, I was a little nervous, but
That's right.
I own my own decisions.
Yeah, it's all about the man in the mirror.
It is the man in the mirror. I made the decisions. But I will say
You're a
that
big boy.
had Denny Carter not been on the show, I might have made a different decision.
Okay.
All right, exactly.
Here's the good news. Denny Carter will be on the show tomorrow, as far as I know. He joins us every Friday.
Yeah, we'll put
so I'm sure this will not be brought up at all.
We'll get into an extra 2 minutes in the segment.
Absolutely, Stephen. Log off. I want a different section tomorrow that is literally Matthew complains to Denny.
Yeah.
Matthew, Denny, and Flamethrower.
Yeah.
Flamethrower to Carter.
Well, he's doing. I tweeted this out because he's doing some YouTube thing on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. He's doing a Q&A. He's doing a Q&A, and I demanded everyone go there and ask Denny.
Why did you tell Matthew to play Deontay Johnson?
Why do you love Deontay Johnson so much? Why last week? It's a good question. I also set the line for Denny using the word funnel at 15.5, and I took the over.
Yeah.
What do you think of that in an hour-long Q&A on YouTube? I set the line at 15.5. Is that a good line? You tell me.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high, but he does say funnel disproportionately. Yeah. For a regular human being.
Where would you set the line?
More like a 12.5.
12.5.
All
right.
Low.
I might take the over on that.
But exactly, taking the over. I'm trying to read the market, and I feel like
might be some insider kind of trading there with Denny.
The public's going to move that one. All right, Deontay Johnson. Moral of the story: he comes in as wide receiver 33, followed by.
I'll give you some actual stats on the fact that Kenny Pickett sucks. Here you go. One wide receiver's caught more than 5 passes in a game against the Browns. They allow the lowest catch rate to opposing wide receivers as well. Steelers have the 4th lowest implied team total this week. We don't expect them to score a lot. And oh, by the way, Kenny Pickett is #not good.
Yeah. My stat for that is my 2 eyeballs watching Kenny Pickett every week.
Our next one here, Jordan Addison comes in as wide receiver 34.
That Matt Canada has a job and Ken Dorsey doesn't in this world?
No, it's not a fair world though, Matthew.
Yeah.
Never has been.
Yeah,
never has been.
Ken Dorsey's looking at Nathaniel Hackett and Matt Canada and saying, how?
Yeah, what the hell?
Oh, boy.
Make better friends.
Make better friends.
That's what it comes down to. Listen, this ranking here, Matthew, with Jordan Addison coming in as wide receiver 34, I mean, it's heavily based on the thought that Justin Jefferson makes his return this weekend.
That's correct. In the games in which Justin Jefferson has been active this season, he's had under a 15% target share, over 21% when Jefferson's been out. So we just don't expect him to see a ton of looks with Jefferson there. Since week 4, again, after that Miami game, that disaster, the 70-point game, Broncos have actually been a pretty good defense. They allow the 3rd fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, the 5th fewest yards per game to opposing wide receivers. Addison is at best the 3rd option on that passing offense. It'll be Jefferson and Hawkinson. He comes outside my top 30 this week. I'm at wide receiver 34.
Jay, how about Jerry Jeudy playing those Vikings? He comes in as wide receiver 37. He's only had 1 game this year with more than 64 receiving yards. It's just not happening for Jerry Jeudy. And you talked about this offense kind of turning Russell Wilson into
Zach Wilson.
a game manager.
Yeah, basically. So they don't throw the ball. When they do throw the ball, Cortland Sutton is the guy that you want. And now they go up against the Minnesota Vikings pass defense, which doesn't have amazing personnel, but has actually been really effective this year. Brian Flores is one of maybe the best defensive coordinator in football, super creative, and I think that he'll be able to take away whatever is going to happen in the Broncos passing game.
To your point, Vikings allow the 5th lowest catch rate to wide receivers over the last 4 weeks as well. And Jerry Jeudy has 1 end zone target this season. Yeah. Literally 1. He has the same number as Chris Manhertz and Lil Jordan Humphrey.
Yes. Name generator. ChatGPT.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Generator.
Absolutely. By the way, it's so funny you bring up ChatGPT. You should read my column today.
Oh, I've heard about this. I will check that out for free on NBCSports.com. Our final wide receiver on the hate list Gabe Davis against the Jets. I love when I see this note on the hate list, Barry. Matchup downgrade versus Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, a staple on the hate list.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's unbelievable how good they have been. Because I think one of the reasons they've been so good is that C.J. Uzomah doesn't play defense. So when Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed make a good play, it stands.
Yeah.
It stands because there's the refs are looking around. Did C.J. Uzomah hold on that play? Oh no, he didn't. He's on the sidelines. Okay, good. We can let that that defended pass stand as well. Anyway, look, Jets have not allowed a touchdown to a wide receiver since week 1. The Jets have yet
Stephon Diggs, not Gabe Davis.
Correct. Yeah. And the Jets have yet to allow double-digit fantasy points to multiple wide receivers in the same game. They have yet, if you figure one wide receiver gets to 10 points in this game, it feels like it's Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is always a chance he scores, but I don't feel like it feels like a great option here. I'm outside my top 40 this week.
Someone's got to tell the Bills receivers that Josh Allen throws the ball hard. Like, he throws a tight spiral, he throws it hard. It's kept on bouncing off of their hands against Denver, including one by Gabe Davis.
Yeah, that was Ken Dorsey's fault. He should have told him.
That's true.
He goes, your quarterback that you catch passes from every single day, throws it hard.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't have a
And Ken Dorsey should have said either, hey, Josh, take a little off of that, or heads up, Diggs and Davis, like he throws it hard.
Turning hot.
But he didn't do either of those things, and that's why he's been fired. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.